trade.
Yes.
It was
Sam Nicholson to Colorado for Eric Miller.
And they traded some money back and forth.
It's like 50
allocation.
grand or something like that.
Yeah. So the big thing about Miller, of course, is he is a Minnesotan.
Yeah.
He's one of us, in which when Dave and I were texting back earlier this week when they made the trade, I said, he's one of us, and Minnesota teams are known to get the one of us players and make a big deal out of it because they're they're Minnesotans, and you can cheer for a Minnesota guy now.
I'm not a Minnesotan.
Well, you're not a Minnesotan. But we all are. I mean, Tom's a North Dakotan. Yeah.
It's close enough.
Dave's a Vermontan.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm the only Minnesotan here.
There isn't anything in Vermont.
No, it's not.
There's
nothing even
the Green
really.
Mountains. It's a beautiful state. It's a nice place to visit.
Yeah, there's nothing in North Dakota.
I guess you're close to
Lake Sakakawea.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's a 4-hour drive to Boston.
Yeah, that's not bad.
There you go. And then, Tom's from North Dakota, and there's absolutely nothing in Lake Sakakawea, and that's it. That's where he goes walleye fishing. That's about it. They have a lot of nuclear silos up in North Dakota.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
And, I've never seen them.
So I'm the only real Minnesotan here.
Yes.
I've lived here for 27 years, so
I would say,
starting to consider myself Minnesotan.
You are Minnesotan, yeah. You're one of us.
I've been here.
But like I'm saying is that we've done this. Every sports team in Minnesota has done this. He's one of us. We bring him in, and that's why we brought him, because he's one of us.
Yeah.
And we always play it up, because oh God, you can cheer for a Minnesotan, everybody's from Minnesota, and that's what they do around here.
Yeah.
That's what the Wild got in trouble with the bringing Suter and Parisi. They needed to, but of course it was, hey, they're one of us. We're gonna have a great time. It hasn't worked out for him. So, is Miller the type of player that we needed, or was it just kind of a wash type of trade?
Well, I think we needed him. Mm-hmm. We had Birch, who wasn't any good to begin with, but he going down with an injury, meniscus tear, I believe it was.
Yes.
And he's out probably for the season. So then you have Jerry and you have Manley and you have Mears, who's been out with calf injury for a month now.
Yeah.
Mears is also 34, so maybe that calf muscle will never ever heal.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. So you're really down to two guys. Mm-hmm. You've got Calvo, who can play on, or actually should play on left, but that's not in Heath's plans. So you're down to your two guys. Mm-hmm. So Miller was definitely necessary from that perspective. I obviously, and had John been here, it feels like he should be here.
Yes.
For as much as we've talked about him, he still hasn't gone here.
Well, he's got lacrosse.
Yes.
The kids have lacrosse.
Yes, that's true.
And I said we don't talk about lacrosse in this program, so
it's probably a good point.
I'm not blaming
him. He got to hear a bunch of my complaining. I'm Scottish by heritage, so I had a slight affinity to Sam Nicholson being from Scotland. And I'm one of those guys that likes young talent that is raw talent that might be something.
Potentially.
And, I think I interacted a lot with supporters of his former team in Scotland, Hearts, right after the signing through Facebook and Twitter. And it was interesting to see a lot of fans were upset that he came to the U.S.
Yeah.
And just hearing what they had to say about him made me really kind of get this feeling that he was something that was going to turn into something special. So, I was pretty upset about the trade. I think we gave up a lot. Even though we needed Miller's position, I feel like we gave up more than we needed to. Mm-hmm. I also think that Miller isn't quite as good as some people think he is. Mm-hmm. A lot of people say 2016 Rapids defense was possibly the best in the league that year.
Yep. One
of the best in the past few years. He played 31 of those games. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, yeah, so did Mark Birch.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just don't think that that's necessarily a barometer of his talent. I think the center back play in Colorado is where the strength is. Mm-hmm. I think we put a little bit too much stock in that defense, in that measurement.
Yeah.
Especially when I was looking at this game log from 2016, and there were 5 games that he was not used. Wow. Of those 5 games, they only allowed a goal apiece, except for one, which was 2. So it's like, well...
So the defense was more of a scheme system
possibly,
fit than it was him, which we've seen in other sports. We've seen the exact same thing, where guys get traded or whatever because they were great on a defense or an offense that was great, but it was more of a scheme fit than it was the actual guy.
Yeah, I mean, he was certainly a cog of the wheel, and it certainly, I don't want to belittle his talent, because obviously he's playing, I'm not. So he's obviously good enough to play. I just think that we measure him by the defense that he's played on, and in reality, how much of that was actually him.
Yeah.
I think one thing that really bothered me about that as well is he hasn't played a minute this season. He's been on the bench once, and that was game 1.
Yeah.
Now they switched, their new coach, Hudson, switched to a 3-man back. And he's not necessarily that type of player. But he's played CB a lot.
Yep.
And he's played the left a lot. So it's not like he's a very transitional, fluid player. So it makes me wonder, well, why did Hudson think he wasn't good enough to evolve into that system?
Sure.
I mean, to the point where he wouldn't even put on the bench.
Sure.
So, I mean, that tells me maybe there's something more that we don't see.
Yeah.
But the reality is he played, I think it was 77 minutes yesterday.
And you were concerned about the whole injury.
Yeah, he's had a nagging injury.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he goes down, and he was subbed immediately after he went down.
Yeah.
So you would have to think that there might be something there, but we don't know.
Like I told you when we were texting back and forth, this is one game. It's his first game with the squad.
Right.
I'm going to give him a pass if he goes out in the 79th or 78th minute. If it continues to happen, then we have an issue. Then it becomes, well, then why do we trade for him if he's going to go out every game in the 75th minute?
Exactly.
I mean, why do we do that?
Yep. And in reality, I mean, those 77 minutes, he was, I mean, you didn't hear anything about him, so that's a good thing. I mean, he didn't make anything spectacular, but he also didn't do anything.
Yeah, he didn't do anything crazy.
So, I mean, that's what we needed. We needed a consistent player on the side, and I mean, if he does it, fantastic. I'm still going to keep very close eye on Nicholson, because I have a feeling we're going to wish that
he was still here. Yeah. And you know this. You watched soccer for a lot of years. I watched soccer, and I've watched every other sport there is. Sometimes guys just need a change of venue.
Yeah.
And maybe Nicholson needed that change of venue. Maybe he wasn't working in our system here.
Right.
You don't want to turn out like a David Ortiz situation with the Twins, right, Tom? Where they get rid of David Ortiz, he goes to the Red Sox and then becomes MVP.
A Hall of Fame player.
Hall of Fame player, exactly.
Fantastic.
You don't want that to happen, but again, you don't know until that guy leaves what he could be. A lot of Twins fans go, we should never gotten rid of Ortiz. Well, he wasn't going to do it here.
Right.
He needed to go somewhere else where people were telling him different things. Because here they're telling him to hit the ball to left field and all this other crap, no power. In Boston, they said, just swing away. And then he swung away, and guess what? That's what happened.
Yeah.
So you'll never know exactly. I mean, Sam Nicholson could go on and be a great player, and maybe he wouldn't be a great player here because of the system we have.
Right.
Well,
and he might fit into that system a little bit better with a 5-man midfield. You've got your wingbacks on the edge, and he gets to fit on the left side, but inside. So that might be just something that he needs.
Yeah.
We've seen it here when he gets to play with Miguel Ibarra. He looks a lot better than when he's just left alone on the outside.
Yeah.
Nothing really going on anywhere else. I think it'll be interesting. Like I said, I wish him well. I think he will do well. He better not score against us.
If he does, you're going to be pissed off, aren't you?
Right. But I have considered already buying a Nicholson Rapids jersey.
You're not going to wear that to the United games, are you?
I won't. But I followed the Rapids for 4 years, so I've got the ability to say, it's nostalgia.
My concern is how fast Miller is going to kind of gel with everybody else in this team.
Yeah.
Because you've got to gel quickly in this league. Otherwise, you're going to be benched, and the trade would be then a terrible trade.
Right.
And in soccer, more than I think hockey too. It's all about how you play with the guys who are on the field with you. I mean, in soccer, it's a big deal.
Right.
Because you've got to have communication with those guys. You've got to be able to know when he's going to break, when he's going to pass. You've got to know those things, and you've got to know their tendencies to do that type of stuff. Yep. So if he doesn't mesh in the next couple of weeks, then we have a problem.
Right. And, honestly, our defense hasn't meshed.
No, at all.
In 14 months. So, yeah. I mean, he probably gets a slight pass on that one, too. But at the same time, maybe we just needed that part.
Yes.
So maybe he can mesh, and it'll work,
But we talked about this the last podcast, and maybe this is true. At what point do we just take stick figures, like scarecrows, and stick them up on defense, and just stick them there and say, hey, this is our defense. This is what's going to happen. You just have to get around these stick figures, and that's that. Because our defense pretty much is that what it is that right now.
We might have to consider that at some point.
I mean, our goalies are doing a fantastic job of stopping shots.
Yeah.
And how much longer can you continue to get that type of production from your goalies before something breaks down?
And that's exactly a solid point, because Bobby saved us from a draw yesterday.
He had in the last 10 minutes. There was one great save he had where I thought for sure.
Oh, the one against Breck Shea.
Yeah, and it was a goal.
Phenomenal.
And he jumped up and he saved it, and I was like, this guy is saving this defense right now.
Yeah.
Because those type of shots shouldn't happen.
Right.
He shouldn't have gotten off a shot like that in the last 10 minutes.
Right. I mean, Breck Shea was wide open on the left, which I don't know. It's the negative about being at a game. Mm-hmm. You miss things. I don't know who was on the left at that point, because Miller had already come out.
I couldn't tell. It was so jumbled.
Yeah, I mean, he was all alone. And how he managed to be just standing there, his hands were out like this. Obviously, no one can see me. And they pass it to him, and he curled the most perfect shot. I mean, what's even better is Bobby saved it with his left hand. Yep. So he crossed his left hand over his body.
Yep.
And managed to pull it off. I mean, it was phenomenal. It should be save of the week. I mean, at least, if it's not at least one of the options, it's sad.
I'm a big Shuttlesworth fan. I mean, he's a great guy.
It was Manley that came in?
Yeah.
Okay. So now was Manley came in on the right, or Manley came in on the left?
He came in for Miller. When Miller
okay, so I wonder if they switched. If Jerry would have switched back over to the left.
Yeah, but still, you're in the last. It does. I mean,
right.
Here's the thing: you're in the last 10 minutes of a game. Okay, they have to score.
Right.
Nobody should be open at all. I don't care about schemes at that point. What I care about is you covering a man. You know, there is no at that point in the game. There is no scheme.
Right.
You cover a guy. That's that.
And especially when you're down a man. Mm-hmm. I mean, there should not be a or a opposition open in the defensive third. I mean,
no.
You should be back.
Yep.
To the point where Darwin is the only guy that is anywhere outside of 30 yards from goal.
And the thing, especially when you're down a man, you have a wall. You should have a wall, and that's that. The only opportunities you're going to have should be from, a point out. There should be nothing that comes into the box.
And, I think that's one of the things that I like about soccer so much is it doesn't matter how good a team is. Mm-hmm. If the team is winning and it's the last 5 to 10 minutes, it's like they're the worst team in the world.
Yeah.
Because the losing team is just constantly sending balls in.
That's right.
And it's like the skill level of the winning team drops 3 steps because they fall back to try to organize themselves, and it just opens up the opposition's offense.
Yeah.
And it's just like a barrage of shots and crosses
But it must be very similar to hockey then.
I mean,
at the end of the game.
Hockey at the end of the game, yes. Hockey's a little different because it's a little faster than soccer is.
It's true.
With soccer, I think it's more of they have a scheme. I think a lot of teams have a scheme where if you're at the end of the game and you're up by 1, you've got a whole pattern of what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Whereas I think they really should just go, you're going to do man-to-man. We're going to build the wall. You're going to go man-to-man, make sure nobody is open. but they don't do that. I think they just kind of try to switch off.
It just kind of falls into place.
And it falls apart. You know.
I mean,